Cotton sack. In the later part of October, after the grape season was over, we left Mr. Jacobson's vineyards in Fresno and headed for Corcoran to pick cotton. As we drove down the narrow two-lane road, we passed vineyard after vineyard. Stripped of their grapes, the vines were now draped in yellow, orange, and brown leaves. Within a couple of hours, the vineyards gave way to cotton fields. On both sides of the road, we were surrounded by miles and miles and miles of cotton plants. I knew that we were approaching Corcoran. After stopping at 3 different cotton labor camps, we found that one of them that gave us work and a one-room cabin to live in. It was one of several farm worker dwellings that lined up in a row. That evening, after supper, Papa unfolded the sacks for picking cotton and laid them out of the middle of the floor to prepare them. I was surprised when I only saw 3. I knew the 12-foot-long one was Papa's and that the 10-foot-long ones were Mama's and Roberto's. "Where's mine?" I asked. "Don't I get one?" "You are still too little to have your own sack," Papa answered. "But last year I picked without a sack," I replied, trying to hold back my tears. Papa shook his head without saying another word. I knew from his silence that I should not insist on it. Papa asked me to stretch out the middle of his sack while he sewed an extra piece of canvas onto the bottom to reinforce it. After finishing the last stitch, he tried it. He tied the sack around his waist, leaving the front opening between his thighs. Dragging the sack on the floor behind him, Papa stooped over, moving his hands up and down and around imaginary plants, pretending that he was picking cotton. He looked like a kangaroo. While he was finishing sewing Mama's sack, she tried it just like Papa. When she saw the 10-foot white canvas trailing on the floor behind her, she burst out laughing. "What's so funny?" asked Papa. "This is the prettiest wedding dress I have ever seen," she answered, holding her stomach to ease the pain from laughing so much. Giggling, Roberto and I looked at Papa, who was not amused. As usual, when it was time for bed, Papa folded the cotton sack to use as a pillow. He placed it on the end of the wide mattress, so he faced the wall, on which held a small faded picture of La Virgen de Guadalupe. He then poured himself a glass of water from a gallon bottle and placed it on the floor near the bed, along with his aspirins, Camel cigarettes, and an empty Red Folgers coffee can, which we all used during the night when it was too cold to go to the outhouse. Roberto Trompita and I knelt in front of the Virgin de Guadalupe and said our prayers silently. Mama wrapped Rora, my newborn sister, in a baby blanket, laid her gently in a crate next to the mattress, and kissed her good night. She and Papa then slipped into bed on one side of the mattress. Roberto, Trompita, Torito, Ruben, and I all crawled on the other end. We snuggled against each other to keep warm. My parents had an advantage over the 5 of us because our legs did not reach the other end of the mattress. Their feet, however, did reach our end of the mattress, and sometimes I would wake up facing Mama and Papa's toes. The pounding of rain on the roof woke me several times during the night. Every time I opened my eyes, I saw the burning tip of Papa's cigarette glowing in the dark. Other times I heard the rattle of his aspirin bottle. I did not mind the rain because it meant I could sleep in the next morning. The cotton would be too wet to pick. Because we got paid 3 cents a pound, most ranchers did not let us pick cotton when it was wet. I woke up late. The rain had stopped and everyone except Rora was already up. Papa, whose eyes were already red and cursed the rain. He and Roberto wrapped the 1-gallon water bottle with burlap and sewed it tightly to keep the bottle from breaking. Trompita and I sat on the box and watched Mama make flour tortillas. She used a 12-inch lead pipe to roll the dough on a flat piece of board atop the wooden boxes that served as her dining table. As she pressed and rolled the dough, she kept turning it until it was perfectly round, about a 1/4 inch thick. Mama then cooked the tortilla in a comal on one of the 2 burners of our small kerosene stove. She usually cooked a pot of beans on the other burner. After we ate the freshly cooked tortillas and beans for breakfast, I helped Roberta wash the dishes in the aluminum tub, which Mama also used for bathing Torito, Ruben, Rora, and for washing clothes. And while Mama mended Papa's shirt, he drove into Corcoran to the nearest gas station to fill our 1-gallon bottle with drinking water and to get more kerosene for the stove. When Papa returned, he smoked another cigarette, took 2 aspirins, and went to bed. Trumpita and I sat on the mattress and played guessing games and then listened to Roberto's ghost stories. Mama told us to be very quiet because Papa was not feeling well. Remember, he does not like noise, she said. For the next few days it rained off and on. By Friday, when the sun had finally come out, Papa's aspirin bottle was empty and the pile of cigarette butts covered the floor by his side of the bed. Like an alarm clock, the honking of the horn woke me with a start on Saturday morning. It was the Contrarista, the labor contractor, who drove around in his beat-up red Ford truck, honking the horn to let us know that the cotton was dry and ready to pick. Leaning on the horn and trying to avoid the potholes with water, he drove up and down the muddy paths, slow as a snail, between rows and rows of perfectly aligned one-room cabins. After finishing the round, which took about 20 minutes, he started again just in case the workers had fallen asleep or had not heard him the first time. On days when I was not in school, the honking of the horn was like the final bell on the last day of school. It meant I had to go to work. But for Papa, who usually hated any kind of noise, this loud sound was like a tonic. It perked him up. By the time the Contrarista had finished the second round, Mama had made the lunches and Papa was warming up the cucaracha. We loaded the sacks, climbed in, and lined up the car behind the Contrarista's red pickup truck, waiting for him to lead us to the cotton field that was to be picked. Loaded with workers who did not own cars, the pickup sluggishly pulled out, followed by the caravan of the old battered cars and trucks.